I am in love with my sister-in-law. Should I tell her? On a throwaway, she knows my Reddit handle. Background info. I did not have a happy home growing up, which has led me to being closed off and anxious. I did my best to protect my younger brother, but when I 25M was 18 I left and started doing whatever jobs for work. I moved into a tiny place with a mate and started trying to be a human, met a girl at a party, hooked up, then she found out she was pregnant. We started dating when she didn't want to terminate. I would be a better father than mine, so was willing to put in the effort, but we never clicked. Unfortunately, about 6 months after our son, K, was born, his mother passed in a drunk driving incident. It was hard, but our relationship was more co-parenting and I felt guilty for a long time that I wasn't more upset. That there was something wrong with me. Her parents are great, though, and paid for therapy for me. I assured them their grandson would always be in their life. I needed the help, and our relationship is rock solid. I call them my parents now more often than not. My younger brother moved out at 17 and dated his GF, call her D24F. She soon found out she was pregnant with twins right before the courthouse wedding. As a result, her parents disowned her, wild religious zealots, according to D, but then, they found they were having twin girls. My brother started acting like our father, talking about how only losers doesn't raise girls, and he would be a real man and raise boys. There was no violence, but when D refused to get an abortion, she was about 5 months in by this point, he just packed his stuff overnight and disappeared. I have since heard he went either to Victoria or Northern Territory, not sure which. Well then D, now 5 months pregnant, had no job and no family. Her parents refused to talk to her. I had a house by this point, result of a workers' comp suit to give me enough for a solid deposit, and K was too, so I offered her the spare room. She took it and started living with us while she tried to figure stuff out. That was about 4 years ago. We kinda just started living together. Our living situation, I work full-time, D is planning to start working when the kids are all in school. I told her that was fine years ago, and she has been doing all the housework, with exception of dishes, which I am happy to do. She cooks, takes care of all 3 kids, takes K to see his grandparents and keeps the house clean. I know she does love the idea of being a stay-at-home mom. She and the girls sleep in the master bedroom. I took the spare bedroom after the girls were born. Her daughters, L and M, are beautiful. L took a lot more from my side of the family and looks a bit like me. The way they call me Uncle J when they want something or are trying to be sweet is too adorable. I take them both and K to any events. D does the same and treats K like a mother would. She took them all to a Bunnings that was doing a Bluey event a while ago and they absolutely loved it. Mostly, we all go out places together like a family would. My son K calls L and M his sisters, and they have been calling him brother. I am sometimes mistaken for their father at play groups and such, and have to confirm I am their uncle. D has mentioned before how people assume she is K's mother even though they look so different. K is half Aboriginal and took most of his features from his mother. Here's the issue though, I am in love with D. When she first started living with me, we would talk about people we were seeing, I would talk about my dates, and after the twins, she would talk about hers. About a year ago, I don't know, I just sort of stopped going on dates and she hasn't mentioned any on her end. I don't like imagining her going on dates with other men, and the idea of her finally moving out is scary to me. I like having her around, like talking to her, looking at her, and when she's not around, I wish she was here. I love L and M, and their happiness, along with my sons, is paramount to me. The only romantic things I can think of is on New Year's, she kissed me. She was drunk and we were at a friend's party. I didn't and don't drink. About a year ago, I got hurt at work, and was bedridden for a week. She was so caring, bringing me food, sitting and talking with me throughout the day, and treating me so sweetly. I know I don't have a history of healthy relationships and am worried I could be misreading things or just projecting my idea of a happy relationship. My therapist says I need to take chances at allowing myself to be happy, but what if it makes things weird between us? So I am asking for the advice of people. What do I tell her? Should I tell her? Also sorry for the rambling. Edit, one of the main reasons I'm afraid to say anything is that I am not just her roommate, I am the sole income for the house. She doesn't work and might feel pressured, and may pretend to have feelings just to be able to stay, which is something I absolutely don't want. I have a fear response to being touched, and freeze up. I am better now, but when touched from behind or not expected I tend to freeze up still, so I know I have probably given her negative interest signs as a result. Though when I was sick about a month or so ago, she suddenly was rubbing my back while I was being sick and didn't freeze up, so progress on the mental health side if nothing else. Update 1. So I wanted to give a quick update since so many people on here helped me out and gave me some solid advice. I am hoping for any advice on my plan and to see whether it's good or bad. So first off, thank you to so many people telling me to cool my jets and not explode my feelings, and to start small. Honestly, I had built up a lot in my head and being told to chill really helped me out. Also, I do agree that talking more about how happy I am with what I have is a better tact than talking about romantic interest. Thanks for the advice. I was suggested a letter, but follow-up advice suggested to use a letter to write out my thoughts, but the actual telling should be face-to-face, which I think feels more honest than giving her a note, so thank you all again for advice. I am a man in my mid-20s who has a lot of anxiety, so people giving me clear advice and giving me well wishes is genuinely heartwarming. So on to my plan. This weekend on Sunday is a Renaissance/medieval fair. We went last year and now that the girls are old enough to want to dress up, we'll be going this year. My plan is to suggest Kay's grandparents watch the kids afterwards and we can go get a meal together, nothing fancy, we are kinda poor, just we adults can relax and chill out as adults and get a burger dinner. While there I want to talk about the day and kids, and just talk in general about how she feels things are with us and the situation we're in. If there's anything she feels is missing or if there's any issues she has. Try and gauge how happy she is, and make sure if there are any issues, I can be aware of it and work on helping. That is my main goal. If things are okay and she is happy, I'll reiterate how happy I am and how grateful I am for her and the girls for being in my life, and how I love both her and the girls. How I know Kay is happier and healthier than he ever could be without them. Honestly, I have heard him call Dee Mum once or twice but I have never really brought that up. So there'll probably be no statement of attraction or anything, but just let her know she is loved, and try and see where this goes. I feel I may update again right before or afterwards, just knowing how my anxiety disorder is. Sorry for the rambling and thank you all again for your advice, it is truly appreciated. Update 2. Big thank you to everyone who reached out. I have major anxiety issues so receiving such positive encouragement was really appreciated, and those of you who suggested the feelings were likely mutual were spot on. Before I give an update, I know what you're asking, how was the medieval fair? It was great, and muddy. The girls kept getting their shoes stuck in the mud so I carried them a lot. My son's cardboard knight outfit fell apart before we even got inside so he ditched it and I bought him a wooden sword to run around with. We bought some of the mead and the girls loved watching the soldiers/knights do mock battles and kept screaming to kill the soldiers, they may be murderers in the making now lol. They also tried to compete over which one I would carry, and were super clingy for reasons I'll get to. My son loved the Vikings show, and now wants to be Viking when he grows up. So to the less Vikings-filled update, Dee and I are now dating. My plan completely fell apart however. Late last week, one of the girls was crying because she didn't know why I didn't want them to call me their dad. Turns out one of the kids in their playgroup had said they have to call me Uncle Jay because I didn't love them. So Dee and I sat with them and I told them I loved them and they can call me their dad if they like. After that talk I did get emotional, realizing that I truly did think of the girls as my daughters. It kind of opened a window in my head and let some air in, if that makes sense. I got flooded with paternal love, I guess? After the kids went to bed Dee and I talked about it, and I asked her if it was okay for her to have her daughters call me dad. She said she was fine with it and joked we were like a married couple now. We joked around a bit then she mentioned we don't have as much sex as a married couple, then things just kinda happened. No sex, just making out, and sleeping together in my bed. Saturday morning we sat down and had a real talk and she told me she had been interested for a few years now, but knew of my issues and believed I was still holding a torch for Kay's mother. I wasn't but would always talk highly of her to my son that could be seen as still in love. We decided to take it slow and see how this new dynamic felt, and both agreed if it didn't work, we could remain best friends and that the co-parenting was working anyway. I then foolishly asked her if she had been trying to hint to me how she felt, and it turns out my insecurities have made me blind. She had been all but shouting it at me, inviting me on nights out with friends and calling me her man while we were there. Inviting me as a +1 to a friend's wedding and telling me I was her date. I brought up the kiss at New Year's and she was a lot less drunk than I assumed, and a lot of other things I just had not let myself see as anything. I think because I was open to the idea she may be interested I was able to pick up on her attempt on Friday. She mentioned that the last few weeks I had been acting noticeably different and that may be what the girls picked up on. She had also noticed I was looking at her different, which had made her more bold. Well, I kind of spilled and just said I loved her and was in love with her, which I knew I shouldn't have done. Our start slow plan kinda fell apart after that and she has been sleeping with me in my bed since then. So that's where things are now. We're planning to put the girls in my room and Dee and I take the master bedroom as my room. She has let slip that Kay has been calling her mum for a bit now. We told Kay's grandparents and they were confused and thought we were already together. Dee's best friend was ecstatic and told me she's so happy she doesn't have to listen to Dee pine over me anymore. She has asked to come with me to my next therapy appointment to thank my therapist and get some advice on my issues. So we're happy, and I am stating to actually believe that it won't all fall apart.